Yatan Prapta Tokavati Muhu. Translation. As far as my daughter-in-law Kunti is concerned, upon the great General Pandu's death, she became a widow with many children, and therefore she suffered greatly. And when you were grown up, she suffered a great deal also because of your actions. I'll read verse 14 as well, and then we'll read the translation and purport. Text 14. Sarvam kala kritam mane bhavatam cha yad apriyam sapalo yad vase loko vayor eva ganavali. Translation. In my opinion, this is all due to the inevitable time, under whose control everyone in every planet is carried, just as the clouds are carried by the wind. I will start to read every word and the meaning. Samsite, after the demise, Atirathe, of the great general, Pandu, Pritha, Kunti, Bala Praja, having young children, Vadhu, my daughter-in-law, Yusmat Krite, on your account, Bahun, multifarious, Kleshan, afflictions, Prapta, underwent, Tokavati, in spite of having grown up boys, Muhu, constantly, Sarvam, all this, Kalakritam, done by inevitable time, Mane, I think, Bhavtam cha, for you also, Yet, whatever, Apriyam, detestable, Sapala, with the rulers, Yet was, under the control of that time, Loka, everyone in every planet, Vayo, the wind carries, Eva, as Ghana Avli, a line of clouds. Om Agyanatimirandasya Gyananya Shalakya Shakshurangimitam Yena Tasmai Shure Guruve Namah Vanchakalpaturusya Cha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitanam Pavanbhyo Vaishnavbhyo Namo Namah Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Shri Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ramo 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. I seek the blessings of all the Vaishnavas and wonderful devotees to speak on Srimad Bhagavatam, verse 13 and 14 from chapter 9, Canto 1. I will read the purport first by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. The sufferings of Kunti Devi are doubly lamented. She suffered greatly because of early widowhood and to get her minor children brought up in the royal family. And when her children were grown up, she continued to suffer because of her son's actions. So her sufferings continued. This means that she was destined to suffer by providence, and this one has to tolerate without being disturbed. This is controlled by time all over the space within the universe, as there is a control by time all over the planets. All the big gigantic planets, including the sun, are being controlled by the force of air, as the clouds are carried by the force of air. Similarly, the inevitable kala, or time, controls even the action of the air and other elements. Everything, therefore, is controlled by the Supreme Kala, a forceful representative of the Lord within the material world. Thus, Yudhishthira should not be sorry for the inconceivable action of time. Everyone has to bear the actions and reactions of time as long as one is within the conditions of the material world. Yudhishthira should not think that he had committed sins in his previous birth and is suffering the consequence. Even the most pious has to suffer the conditions of the material nature. But a pious man is faithful to the Lord, for he is guided by the bona fide Brahmana and Vaishnava, following the religious principles. These three guiding principles should be the aim of life. One should not be disturbed by the tricks of eternal time. Even the great controller of the universe, Brahmaji, is also under the control of that time. Therefore, one should not grudge being thus controlled by time, despite being a true follower of the religious principles. There are many deep understanding and learnings in these verses. So, first of all, we want to I will just share my reflections and realizations from these verses. So, first of all, Bhishma Dev is saying this to King Yudhishthira. And why is Bhishma Dev saying this to King Yudhishthira? King Yudhishthira Maharaj Yudhishthira had himself suffered, and as did his mother, throughout the life. And at this particular time, Maharaj Yudhishthira is thinking that the 640 million people that left their bodies in this battle of Kurukshetra were because of him, because of Maharaj Yudhishthira, because ultimately it was for getting Maharaj Yudhishthira on the throne. But that was Maharaj Yudhishthira's consciousness. So Maharaj Yudhishthira was already feeling very bad for this great massacre and the great war that happened in the battlefield of Kurukshetra. And at this time, Bhishma Dev, who is one of the 12 Mahajanas, was trying to assuage those feelings for Maharaj Yudhishthira, that Maharaj Yudhishthira should not feel bad. And it is actually the free will that was misused by the Kauravas, and ultimately that came to a head, and therefore the Kauravas had to suffer for the consequences of their karmas. And also Bhishma Dev is reminding Maharaj Yudhishthira that actually how much he himself suffered as the Dharmaraj himself, as the son of Dharmaraj. He did nothing wrong throughout his life, and yet he lost his father at a young age. And then there were great sufferings and great afflictions that were there, such as being in the wax house, the Kauravas were trying to burn the Pandavas down, the poison of Bhima, the cheating in the game, and then he lost all of the possessions and had to go to the forest for 12 years. And all of that Bhishma Dev is reminding, and that is just the consciousness of the pure devotees here in play. So the consciousness of Maharaj Yudhishthira, he could have lamented, why this is happening to me? I did nothing wrong, but yet all this, I was fatherless, and I was devoid of the devoid of the rightful kingdom. Should I have really faith in religious principles? Should I really execute religious principles? And more so, when Draupadi was insulted in the courtyard of Duryodhana, at that particular time, Bhishma Dev was silent, did not come forward to protect Draupadi or say anything against Duryodhana. And a normal soul could have seen as we see these days, silence is also taking the side of the oppressor. So Yudhishthira could have that consciousness about Bhishma Dev, but he did not. That is a sign of the pure devotee, because he knew what is going on, what is the wider plan here, And therefore, Maharaj Yudhishthira's consciousness was still clear completely, despite the fact that Bhishmadev had not taken the side of the Draupadi and Pandavas. In fact, by remaining silent, one could have thought that he took the side of the oppressor, and more so, Bhishmadev was fighting on the side of the Kauravas, which was the epitome of all evil at that time. So Maharaj Yudhishthira's consciousness was still clear. He still had all the love and faith, and he continued to. He did not lose faith for a second during all those difficult times that him, his brothers, and his mother endured for a long period of time. So he did not lose any faith. He did not lose any. He did not bend any religious principles. He continued to execute and did his job to the best of his abilities. So Maharaj Yudhishthira's consciousness was that, and now Bhishmadev is reminding Maharaj Yudhishthira that you and your family suffered a lot, and so you should not feel bad now that the Battle of Kurukshetra, so many people have left their bodies, and it's not Maharaj Yudhishthira's doing. On the other hand, Bhishmadev's consciousness is one of the 12 Mahajanas, so a super great soul. So he is also as sparkling clean as Maharaj Yudhishthira, so he can understand with empathy and compassion what is Maharaj Yudhishthira feeling. So even though Bhishmadev himself is on a bed of arrows, that is a very painful acupuncture itself. But Bhishmadev is not lamenting about his physical condition. He's actually completely empathetic with Maharaj Yudhishthira's feelings right now. How is Maharaj Yudhishthira feeling? And actually, Bhishmadev is feeling that as bad as Maharaj Yudhishthira is, because he can empathize with the feelings of others. That's the sign of a very great soul like Bhishmadev. So that is kind of the background. And so one of the as I was reading the purport, one of the three guiding principles is that as we suffer the impact of the inevitable time, how do we stay steady and work through our life? So this is, so I will read this again. But a pious man is faithful to the Lord, for he is guided by the bona fide Brahmana and Vaishnava, following the religious principles. And so he's guided by the Lord, by the Brahmanas, and as well as following the religious principles without bending them. And so this is a great lesson as we for all of us. And we'll talk about even though Maharaj Yudhishthira did nothing wrong, why they had to suffer so much. But for our own life in every day, we can continue to follow with 100% conviction and faith the religious principles, and that is in our control. And as we follow them, we can be guided by the Brahmanas and the Lord, and then we can sail through those difficult times. And so why did it happen? I was meditating on that. Why did this all these things happen to Maharaj Yudhishthira, the son of Dharmaraj himself? He did nothing wrong. Even he never lied throughout his life. He spoke the truth. He created no violence. He was completely the epitome of non-violence. He had compassion and love even for Kauravas, despite whatever was being done to them. So, and And on top of that, he had done nothing wrong in his past life. Normally, we suffer the actions of our past karmas, but in this particular case, Maharaj Yudhishthira did nothing wrong. So all those things happened, still he did not lose his faith. And so what was the reason for that? And so Srila Prabhupada gives a great example that in West Bengal, so this is an everyday example from life, that in West Bengal, when a woman is married, she becomes the daughter-in-law in another home for the first time. So she goes through a cultural shock. She doesn't know, first of all, what is where, what is the structure of the home, what are the taste and likes and dislikes of her in-laws, what does her mother-in-law like, how to cook, how to clean, how to do whatever household chores may be, what are the neighbors like, where is a well to fetch the water. So she's completely lost in a new area. So it's a cultural shock. It's kind of a foreign land. And so what the mother-in-law does is she will, rather than directly teaching the daughter-in-law, she will take her own daughter, and even though her own daughter may have been completely versed in everything because she's been living there for a long time in that home, the mother-in-law will take upon herself to teach daughter all the call it learning the ropes, and she will teach from beginning how to cook, where is what in the kitchen, and where is a well. And so she will lead by example, because daughter is her mother's loving associate. So in that case, mother can again hit the reset button to teach her daughter all the things and let her daughter-in-law witness that. And rather than directly teaching, it's a very low risk. It's not threatening at all for a daughter-in-law than to watch her mother-in-law teach her daughter all those things that her daughter may already know. And then daughter, while doing this practice, fully knowing that this is actually, I know this already, but my mother is still teaching me again. She doesn't take it as a frustration or a disappointment or a complaint, but she knows that this is the plan of my mother-in-law. This is the plan of my mother, that I should become a practice child. And I know she loves me, even she's teaching me all these things, but I have to endure it for the higher purpose, which is her that daughter-in-law should become a integral part of this family. And ultimately, daughter knows she has to leave her home as well. And the daughter-in-law can ultimately become fully integrated. So she doesn't complain. She knows the higher purpose. She knows why her mother is doing what she's doing, and she just play that part. And so in this case, Bhishma Dev and Maharaj Yudhishthira, they didn't complain. They did nothing wrong, but it was Lord's plan for teaching the rest of the souls like us to, with the great example of Maharaj Yudhishthira and the pain and suffering Maharaj Yudhishthira went through. All of us, I know, we don't get a small fraction of those pains and sufferings. Maharaj Yudhishthira went from riches to rags in a matter of seconds. He lost everything. And I tried to play this experiment myself a few years ago. I said to myself, I will give up my car and let's see how the life looks like without a car. And so I decided to walk to work for 7 days. I didn't want to use the bike and see how does life look like without all these luxuries that we have around them. and I could only keep it for 3 days, and then my willpower went away. And then on the 4th day, I was back to first riding a bike, and within 5th or 6th day, I was driving the car again. I couldn't keep up without a car. So in our lives, we are so much used to what we have. So my point here is that we do not, we cannot even imagine the pain and suffering of Maharaj Yudhishthira, who had immense wealth, immense power, and then he was devoid of all that by cheating in the game of dice and sent to the forest. So, but Maharaj Yudhishthira didn't complain, and then, despite knowing he did nothing wrong, he kept the religious principles 100%. Didn't bend them, did no compromise, and only time he lied was when Lord Krishna himself said to him that now it's a matter of protecting the religious principles over the evil. So when Dhruvanacharya was seeming invincible, then Lord Krishna asked him to lie for the first and the last time in his life, which is to say that Ashwatthama is dead. So Maharaj Yudhishthira followed those principles with all those extreme pain and sufferings to kind of teach us. He knew kind of the example I shared, and the daughter playing that part to let her daughter-in-law being integrated. So, us, and many generations to come, we are like the daughter-in-law of this in this material world. We are lost. We don't know what to do, and so we have nowhere close to pain and suffering. So Maharaj Yudhishthira, but then despite those extreme situations, Maharaj Yudhishthira followed all the religious principles to the letter of the law. So, and Maharaj Yudhishthira knew that this is the purpose here. This is the higher purpose. And therefore, he went on and did his job. Followed the religious principles. As a result, he got the blessings of Brahmanas and the Lord. And then the other lesson here is that, which is the even more important lesson, is that when we have these 3 guiding principles, which is we follow the religious principles, we have this pain and sufferings that's going to happen with this inevitable time, and time here is Kala, is Lord Krishna's manifestation himself in this material world. That when we do that, then ultimately the victory does come. And that's what happened with Maharaj Yudhishthira. Yes, with all this pain and suffering, the victory came, the evil was defeated, and so the war was won, and Maharaj Yudhishthira got the throne, and he ruled for 36 years with upkeeping those religious principles. And also on the side of Bhishma Dev, who's one of the 12 Mahajanas, he knew fully well that, yes, he took the vows to protect the throne of Hastinapur and whoever else would be there. But when all those wrongdoings were happening, as a Mahajana, he fully know that the vows taken in this material world, there's also a hierarchy. He could have switched sides to protect the religious principles, because religious principles every time take precedent over a vow taken by a person in this world. So Bhishma Dev could have shifted sides to protect the religious principles, and he did not. He kept his vow, and the reason for that is the same, is because he knew that it is the will of Lord Krishna for Bhishma Dev to remain on the side of Kauravas. And then again, the lesson for us is that Bhishma Dev, first of all, Bhishma Dev was very powerful, and not only he was very powerful. So he had three great things going for him. He was extremely powerful as an archer and a warrior. He was trained by Lord Parshuram himself. And then he was always righteous. He did nothing wrong in his life. He followed, other than taking the side of the Kauravas, he did nothing, absolutely nothing wrong in his life or previous life, in that life. So, and then third thing is, he had the Icha Mrityu boon, that he could choose the time, place of his leaving his body. So with those three things, those three high qualities, Pandavas had no chance to win that war and defeat Bhishmadev. But and Arjuna had to actually take the help of Shikhandi to defeat Bhishmadev. So there was no way that Pandavas could have won that. But the plan of the Lord was, again, this daughter-in-law and daughter example is for Bhishmadev to stay on the side of Kauravas. And the reason for that is that even though, the lesson here is that even though we may be extremely righteous, we may be extremely powerful, but if we are on the side of the wrong, then the defeat is certain. So defeat is absolutely certain. So just because we are powerful and righteous is not enough. What needs to happen is that we are also keeping the we are not taking the side of the wrong. We are standing up against the wrong. We are taking the side of the religious principles and stay on the right side. There is a saying which applies to all of us. Is one side, is one thing to wish that the truth is on our side, and yet another thing to be on the side of the truth. So it's we all have these confirmation biases in our life that I think I am right, or by doing this I am on the right side. I hope I am on the right side. I hope the truth is with me. But oftentimes we fail to see through that and actually look for how we could be wrong. What is a falsification here? And are we really, is the truth really on our side, or the truth is somewhere else? And we need to actually cross over and be on the side of the truth rather than hoping and wishing that truth is on our side. So that was the lesson that Bhishmadev knew, that this the Lord's will for Bhishmadev to stay on the side of the Kauravas, that even though you're right, but if you're not taking the side of the right, if you're not on the side of the truth, then the defeat is certain. And so that was the third lesson from these verses. From the fourth reflection I have is that how to actually execute these religious principles. It is one thing to say that yes, we in the difficult times we should be executing the religious principles, and yet another thing to actually do it. Is it, like I said, Maharaj Yudhishthira didn't lose faith despite all those things that happened. He didn't bend any rule. But how do we do it? The answer is to always remember that we are not our thoughts, we are not our feelings, we are not our actions, we are not what is happening to us, we are not the insult that somebody gives us. We are the non-neuro, non-chemical soul. And we are the witness of the activities, and we are the witness of the field, and we are the witness of the activities in the field. And as long as we are able to dissociate ourselves from the thoughts and that cross over our mind, the insults that are thrown at us, the harm that is done to us by others, As long as we can become a witness to that rather than a victim of that, that only then we can stay true to our religious principles. And so that goes into if we become the witness, if we know the immortality of the soul, if we know the infinite bliss packed in our soul, if we know that we are a witness to these activities, and if we know that we are the consciousness, we are the living force, if we know that we are the part and parcel of the super soul, and that itself can bring the bliss in our life, and that itself can make us overcome these thoughts, these distractions that our or the distress of our mind, the thoughts that come in our mind throw at us. If we can try to take bliss in this, in the fact that we are the consciousness, we are the infinite bliss, we are the living force, we are the part and parcel of Krishna, and that's all we are. We are non-neuro, we are non-chemical. And the neuro part is the mindful, the thoughts that are in our minds. The neuro part is the feelings in our hearts that we may have towards others of different type. And so Maharaj Yudhishthira knew fully well that he is that non-neuro, non-chemical living force. And whatever is being done to him, to his brothers, to his mother, he dissociated himself completely. And that is how he was able to follow those religious principles. So having that awareness is a first step. Having that awareness who we are, and how do we understand that we are the witness, we are not those things, we are not the distress, we are not the insult, we are not defined by others' views towards us. And even if others have those views towards us, to have a compassion, if somebody insults us, have a compassion towards them, that it is their mind, they are also the living force, just like we are. They are also the consciousness and part and parcel of Krishna, but for some reason or the other, because of the influence of material nature, this insult these people are throwing at us is because of their mind, the thoughts in our mind. It's not them. No, it's not the consciousness that is causing hurt to us. It is their mind, their thoughts that are causing hurt, and they are lost as a result. That's why they're doing this, and trying to be having that feeling of compassion that they are not knowing who they are, and in fact they are getting carried away by their thoughts, and that's why they are throwing insults at us. So if we have that kind of awareness and understanding, is how we can sail through the difficult times that come to us. We can sail through the difficult situations in our everyday life, be at work, be at home, be at our relationships. So those were the reflections. So I would summarize a few things from what we talked about, and then I will take a pause and I invite the devotees' questions and reflections as well. So the first was that Bhishmadev was saying these verses to assuage the feelings of Yudhishthira, and he could feel the compassion for Maharaj Yudhishthira, what he was going through, that he was thinking that he was responsible for the 640 million people leaving their body, while he was not responsible. So he was trying to assuage his feelings. And then even though people may have done nothing wrong in their life or previous lives, they still suffer sometimes the impact of the inevitable time. And the reason is there is having that faith and trust in Lord's plan, and and continue to follow the religious principles and being guided by the Lord and the Brahmanas. And the daughter-in-law example that Srila Prabhupada gives is a great one, that how the daughter endures resetting the pause button again for the higher purpose. The daughter-in-law can get integrated into the family. And so we are like the daughter-in-law, and Bhishma Dev and Yudhishthira were like the daughter, and Krishna is playing that part of the mom to help us learn those lessons. And finally, how do we endure those difficult times is clearly to remain steady and have that knowledge, the ultimate secret knowledge that we are the consciousness. We are not the thoughts. When things others do to us, it's not done by their soul or consciousness, done by their misguided or not misguided, sometimes rightful thoughts to us. So those were the reflections. I'm sure I'm imperfect. I apologize if I misstated something, but I do like to hear others' comments, questions, and because I can learn a lot myself from these discussions.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Hare Krishna, Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji, thank you very much for very nicely laying out your realizations. One thing I was appreciating was how do we see other people's actions? The way you said that it's not, we should look, if you look beyond, or when we look, when we separate the soul and the person's consciousness or their mind or whatever is acting, and how we can separate the person from the action. I think that's what was impactful, separating the person, not like feeling that this person is like this, but this action is what is affecting me, and separating the person from the action. I was very appreciative of that project. Now, and I think when you mentioned about even Dharmaraj going through these afflictions as an example for us, right, for us to follow, then what is our role, meaning when things happen to us like this and we feel that it's injustice or it should not be happening to us, and we're not at a platform where we can completely say whatever, right? How do what do we do?
Yeah, Prabhuji. Yes, we are not at that platform, and I'll give my personal example. So last month, due to a misunderstanding, complete misunderstanding, I found out later, somebody insulted me publicly, and so I came to know that there was a misunderstanding later, and somebody else then later said to that person that it was a complete misunderstanding. It was not me at all. But it took about a month for that to clear up. So initially, I did feel rejected, insignificant, and then I was trying to play that part, that can I be compassionate towards that person, thinking that, whatever they said, maybe they were distressed because of this misunderstanding, and how could I feel that distress, and so it took me almost 3 weeks to not only come to that, even before that misunderstanding was cleared up. It took me almost 3 weeks to come to the point of forgiveness. And then slowly, I was trying to still dissect what was that person going through in their head when they said all these things? And what was that person going through? because they were really demeaning things. And I was trying to relate to those feelings. Why would somebody say those things like that? What is going through their head? So they must be extremely hurt. And also they may have past experiences. They may judge others from the lens of their past experiences, that unhealthy experiences they might have. So it is a lot of inner work, Prabhuji. I am nowhere near the state of Maharaj Yudhishthira, nowhere, not even a fraction. But having that constant awareness, just praying to the Lord that give me that awareness. I know I am still not at the forgiving stage, and people have judged me, but my dear Lord, this is, just give me the awareness and understanding that I'm the infinite bliss and part and parcel of you, and so is the other person, and so is the other, all the living beings, including plant and animals. So just always having that praying and surrender mood is and do that inner work, and is how I see it. And it takes time. So there is not I don't know a magic bullet, other than we need to continue to pray and in that mode of surrender, and continue to do that inner work, and let others that judgment or insult, let them not stay here without, they don't pay any rent to us, they just stay here. So just and not only pay any rent to us, we pay rent to them with heavy load. So just try to constantly pray to the Lord, is how I say it. But I'm sure there are other ways to overcome those difficult situations as well.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I'm sorry I missed the question. Suddenly my son came and he said he's hungry. So what was the question?
Oh, I'm sorry. So the question was that if we're going through difficult times, or somebody judges us, then how do we come to that platform that they are also the soul like us, and they are also the infinite bliss like us, and the reason judgment or insult may have happened is because of their thoughts in the minds, which is to then say less, or their actions, thoughts or actions that they may have done to us. So we need to understand that those actions and those thoughts, that person is not that. We need to separate. The person is a soul, and how we separate those two, the person from the action and person from their thoughts, when they judge us or insult us. Was that the question, Mohanlila Prabhu?
Yes, sorry. Right before you concluded, my battery died and I got disconnected.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Prabhu. No, I think very well. I think your personal example. Thank you for sharing that, Prabhuji. I think your personal example kind of put it, to the thoughts together for me. I think rather than, while there is an urge to fix things on our own or go and do something and react, taking that shelter of the Lord for us to digest what the action is, and sometimes it'll resolve on its own. Yes, I think that was very helpful, Prabhuji. Thank you so much, Prabhuji.
Thank you. Any other thoughts or reflections, questions, any clarifications?
Hare Krishna Prabhu. I was just thinking, the example, the way when you were saying how do we separate ourselves, right, from the thoughts and everything, I was thinking of one example. Uh, uh, Indradumna Maharaj, he gave in one of his lectures that, once he had some severe pain in his tooth. So he was getting the surgery done. So he got anesthesia, but the anesthesiologist did not give enough anesthesia. So during the surgery, he got up and he saw suddenly he saw there is one guy with the mask coming to him with a knife. So he immediately hit him on his nose. So the doctor, he fell down kind of, and then the anesthesiologist gave him good anesthesia so that he doesn't wake up even after 2-3 hours. So when he wakes up, then the doctor came with the nurses to see him, and doctor had bandages and everything around his nose. So Srila Gurudev asked him that, what happened to you? The nurse was very mad at him that you hit him. So doctor said that no, he didn't know what he was doing. He was under the effect of the drug. So otherwise he was a nice kid. So Srila Gurudev, once he thought that is how we are under the modes of material nature, right? So when we are acting, we don't know what we are doing. It is the modes of material nature; those are acting, but internally that person is not doing that. And then he was saying, Srila Gurudev, he went for the Sankirtan book distribution or on the road. Then there were students and they all, they went around him and they all spitted on him. So at that time, Srila Gurudev in his mind, he was trying to remember what the doctor said, that they don't know what they are doing. They are under the influence of, modes of material nature. So I just thought of this example. I thought that this example will go well with what you were saying. So just wanted to share.
Oh, very nice, Mataji. Thank you for sharing. Yes, we are. I am under the influence of call it drug or disease. Yeah, it's material nature, modes of material nature acting. It's not the blissful soul that is acting. So, and then these modes of material nature, not only from this lifetime, but from millions of previous lifetimes, there is every thought that may have occurred in that person's mind who spitted on Guru Maharaj. Every thought that may have gone through their person's mind, not only in this lifetime, but millions of previous lifetime, they're like weeds. And weeds in the garden. And those weeds can take sometimes lifetime after lifetime to sprout. And maybe that person who spitted, maybe it was this lifetime or some previous lifetime, some thought that was a weed that sprouted at that moment, and that resulted in this spit, unfortunately. So that's why having that awareness that our thoughts leads to our destiny ultimately. Our thoughts leads to our words leads to our actions leads to our habits, and our habits leads to our destiny. So having extreme care, the gardening season is over, but having extreme care of what thoughts come to our mind every second is critical, because anyone who gardens know that there is a saying in gardening that as soon as the gardener puts the hoe away, the weeds start to grow again. So he may have taken all the weeds out of with the hoe, but then they start growing again. So having that mindfulness every second, what's going through our mind, because those thoughts sprout, we don't know when it will sprout where. And especially getting that thought sprouted in front of Guru Maharaj is is a great offense. So thank you for sharing that. Yes, Mataji, it's very relevant. Any other reflections or thoughts, Prabhujis and Matajis? Anything needs clarified or? Okay, then I'll close the call. It's 53 past. Vanchakalpatrasya kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavabhyo namo namah. I beg for forgiveness if I said anything wrong, and thank you. I am sincerely grateful for listening in. Hare Krishna.